The GTA is bracing for its first real blast of winter, 2019. Let's get right to meteorologist Colette Kennedy, who is out in the calm before the storm with the latest on exactly what is heading our way this weekend, Colette.
Thanks, Dwight. Yeah, that's right. This is the calm before because, okay, it's not exactly balmy out here, but the temperature right now, -3. It feels like -10 to -12 around the region with the wind chills, but the winds are going to pick up, colder air is moving in, and snowfall on the way as well. So for now, from Environment Canada, we do have a special weather summary that's in place for the area. This statement is in place for not only the city and the GTA, but also it goes all the way to eastern Ontario and back towards southwestern Ontario, expecting strong winds, extreme wind chills, some of the overnights feeling like -20 to -30, and then snow and blowing snow that we're looking at as well. So reduced visibility in travel, that's certainly one thing that we'll have to contend with, and we'll also have to be thinking about if you're doing any traveling around towards the Niagara Peninsula from all the way Hamilton over to Niagara. We do have through that area, we're looking at a winter storm actual warning that's in place, and there the amounts could be 15 to 25 centimeters, and those winds gusting over 60 kilometers an hour. Now, this is the current radar. What I actually want to draw your attention to is what you're seeing all the way back there towards southwestern parts of Michigan. That's the beginning of this storm as it's trying to poke its nose towards us. That'll be moving in tonight towards southwestern Ontario, taking over Windsor. This is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so from about Hamilton around to Niagara, there'll be some lake enhancement due to the northeasterly winds, so already seeing the snowfall there. Watch how this skirts through, though. So coming in and getting heavier past the lunch hour and through to the evening hours for the city. But if you look just a little bit north of the city, there's nothing there. That's why we're talking about amounts 407 northward of 5 centimeters closer to the lake shore. It's so close, the line of how this is going to track. That's where we get into the more the 5 to 10 centimeters. And as I mentioned, the more extreme stuff we'll be seeing for the Niagara region. So a look at some of the snowfall potential and some of the numbers we may see. This will carry on through the night Saturday, ending overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. -13, by the way, overnight tonight for your low, feeling like -22, and pretty much the same for tomorrow afternoon. We only go to -12. It's really some of that coldest air comes in on Sunday. There'll still be some lingering flurries on that day, and we're dealing with the kind of wind chills that are so extreme that it's really dangerous. So we do have the extreme cold weather alert from the city as well because of what's happening this weekend, Dwight.
Yeah, so much to track there. We'll check back with you a little later in the show, Colette.
Sounds good.
As of right now, interviews are taking place, and police have secured 5 properties, 4 in Toronto and 1 in Madoc. He's killed at least 2 people that we know of, and we believe there are more victims.
1 year ago tonight, Toronto police announced the arrest of 66-year-old Bruce MacArthur. He was charged with killing Andrew Kinsman and Salim Essen. MacArthur now stands charged with 8 murders. The victims all had ties to Toronto's gay village. John Lancaster joins us tonight from Church and Wellesley. And John, people in that community had been fearing what police confirmed 1 year ago today.
They did, Dwight, and a year on later, it's rare as journalists that would actually be covering the anniversary of someone's arrest. But even as the lead investigator in this case said today, it speaks to just how horrific those crimes were against this community and the worldwide attention they got.
At exactly 10:25, the shrill wail of a bagpiper pierced the relative calm on Mallory Crescent in Midtown Toronto. It's the moment 1 year ago that police came pounding on the door to let the unsuspecting homeowners know their property was a crime scene.
We're just here to remember the good men lost and honor them.
The home is where accused serial killer Bruce MacArthur stored landscaping equipment and where he allegedly secretly concealed the remains of 7 men in large flower planters. The remains of an 8th victim were found buried in the backyard ravine. All of them, police allege, killed by MacArthur.
It's really a really complicated mess.
Haran Vijayathanan says the crimes have caused a rift between some members of the gay community and police. After all, he says the disappearances started in 2012, and many suspected they were connected, that a serial killer was lurking, preying on gay men. Police denied it.
Those links weren't made, and if those links were made, then why weren't they followed up on? So those are some of the questions that I have and the community has.
It wasn't until the fall of 2017, 5 years after the first disappearance, that police made a connection. Acting Inspector Hank Idzinga led the team that honed in on MacArthur.
The hardest moment was the day in the morgue a couple of weeks after the arrest, when the planters that we had recovered from the property on Mallory were thawed, and the moment where we discovered the human remains in those planters.
Back on Mallory Crescent, those haunting discoveries are still lamented on the first anniversary of Bruce MacArthur's arrest.
Dwight, as it stands, MacArthur is set to stand trial 1 year from now in January 2020. In the meantime, police continue to pore over cold cases to see if there are any links to MacArthur. So far, though, they say they haven't found any. Reporting live on Church Street, I'm John Lancaster.
John, thank you. Doctors protested today outside a Scarborough hospital, angry at hospital administration for a plan to move obstetrics and pediatrics wards to 2 other hospitals in the Scarborough Health Network. Chris Glover joins us live now from the Birchmount site. Chris, what are the doctors' concerns?
They fear that if those 2 wards are closed, that there won't be on-hand experts for pregnant women and for kids, and they worry that that will have a trickle-down effect for the entire building.
You know, if you think about a Rubik's Cube needs all the pieces to play together. And if you take out pediatrics and obstetrics from a Rubik's Cube, everything falls apart.
Flanked by other doctors, emergency physician Lisa Solomon can't believe what is proposed for her hospital.
We're saying to the women and children of Scarborough or of North Scarborough, don't come here. Find somewhere else to go.
She says her ER would become less effective if the obstetric and pediatric wards were closed at Scarborough's Birchmount Hospital, often known as the Grace.
By closing these essential services to a already vulnerable patient population is actually creating barriers to the care that they need and deserve.
If you don't have that, then you don't have much of an emergency. And I represent the Department of Internal Medicine with some of my colleagues here, and you're not going to have a very good hospital.
Birchmount is the only hospital in Scarborough north of the 401. Resources from the 2 wards would be relocated to Centenary Hospital and Scarborough General, each about a 15-minute drive to the south.
Because it's the smallest of the 3, seems to be the favorite target of the hospital administration.
The area councillor says this hospital serves the most diverse place in the city and is rapidly growing.
This hospital is needed. I would say to the board, you got to make your consideration carefully, very carefully before you touch our hospital. Keep your hands off our hospital.
We're not diminishing resources. We're not diminishing access.
The administration for the 3 hospitals that make up Scarborough's network says the change will improve things.
We believe that the services, while they may be located in a different location, are still highly accessible and will be even better quality by able to consolidate those resources and the expertise so we can deliver the very best care.
The board of directors will meet next Thursday to discuss this proposal, and if it is approved, they anticipate that it would take the entire year of 2019 in order to facilitate the change, Dwight.
A lot of changes on the way. Thank you, Chris. The province has officially begun their search for proposals about what to do with Ontario Place. The expression of interest process will open this spring. The PC government says they want to, quote, renew the site as an iconic cultural and tourism destination. So, what's on the table? The province says the Ontario Place Islands, mainland pods, and the Cinesphere are available for development, but not the land Budweiser Stage is on. The government intends to maintain 7.5 acres of parkland. Land sales will not be considered, nor will residential uses for the site. Any proposals that require the province to give money for planning, design, or construction will not be considered, nor will any proposals that ask for operating grants from the province. So, what is the province's vision for the site? Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport Michael Thibodeau said the new Ontario Place will, quote, could include exciting sport and entertainment landmarks, public parks or shopping. We could also have places for recreation, for people to come together and to hear great music at the existing amphitheater. They have virtually identical DNA. So why did CBC Marketplace's Chelsea Agro and her twin sister Carly get different results from a handful of those DNA testing kits?
Look, French and German. What?
Oh, I don't have that.
You don't have that at all?
No.
We put sites like 23andMe, Ancestry DNA, MyHeritage, and others under the microscope. Can you trust the results? That's coming up in just a few minutes. Get ready to start paying more for the TTC. Fares will jump by a dime on April 1st. As Greg Ross explains, transit officials say the hike is necessary to maintain service improvements.
Do you think that TTC riders are getting more bang for their buck, even with this fare hike?
I do. I think that our what we're giving today is an improvement.
TTC spokesperson Susan Sperling says they've made a number of improvements since the last fare increase 2 years ago, but they cost money. She points to things like the new 2-hour time-based transfer. Kids under 12 now ride for free. She says there have also been a number of capacity improvements with more trains, more buses, and streetcars. They've also expanded the express bus network, and subway service is open an hour earlier on Sundays.
There's a fair number of improvements in there that we want to preserve. We want to make sure our customers get the best service we can possibly provide.
The 10-cent hike applies to tokens and Presto card users. Seniors and students will also see a rate hike, as will people who use monthly passes, an increase some say they can live with.
10 cents is not that much. If you compare with another transit systems around the world, I think we have a good thing. Is something
You're
great.
not that upset about it?
No, I'm not upset.
Nobody wants to pay more money, but it's like taxes. You know, if it goes to a good purpose, that's what we have to do as citizens.
We're not impressed.
Representatives from the TTC Riders Association say improvements don't go far enough to warrant a fare increase.
Service improvements from last year, we're only, tackling the tip of the iceberg in terms of chronic overcrowding that is experienced by transit riders on a daily basis.
And they say it's not riders who should have to foot the bill for these upgrades.
It seems to be an annual exercise in TTC riders being asked to fund the operations of the TTC when it should be the city, when it should be the province. I think we run a world-class system, but we don't have the world-class funding that goes with it.
Sperling says it could bring in as much as $26 million in additional funding annually for what she says is a relatively small fare increase.
It is still below the rate of inflation when balanced out with the freeze last year.
The recommended increase would affect all TTC fares with the exception of the regular adult cash fare, which will remain at $3.25. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
One person is dead and another suffered life-threatening injuries after 2 hit-and-runs in the city.
Around 7:03 last night, we received a call to attend the intersection of Danforth Road and Patterson Avenue. A vehicle which was traveling northeast on Danforth attempted to make a left-hand turn onto Patterson Road, and at that time struck this 67-year-old female. At the same time, we had a large commercial motor vehicle, dark green in color, possibly a garbage truck, stopped at Bathurst Street. Now, that pedestrian fell to the ground. Unfortunately, the truck ran over the pedestrian. The truck continued southbound on Bathurst Street, and as a result of the pedestrian being struck, sustained fatal injuries and was pronounced at the scene.
Police say the driver of that truck may not have known they hit someone and are asking anyone with information on both incidents to come forward. British police say a small child was inside a car that collided with an SUV driven by Prince Philip. The Duke of Edinburgh was behind the wheel of a Range Rover yesterday near the Royal Sandringham estate when his vehicle hit another car and rolled over. Dominic Valides has more.
Well, police confirmed earlier today that one of the passengers in the other car was a 9-month-old baby, but thankfully he wasn't hurt. The driver and the passenger, meanwhile, 2 women aged 28 and 45 were, but not seriously. And we're told they have since been discharged from hospital after receiving treatment for minor injuries. Now, an investigation into what happened yesterday is underway, but it appears that Prince Philip was pulling out of a private driveway onto a main road near the Sandringham estate when this collision happened. One of the first on the scene was Roy Warren, and earlier he spoke about the moment he pulled Prince Philip out of his overturned car. Here he is.
I told him to move one of his legs, and that freed room for the other leg, and then I put my hands under his arms and helped ease him out. He didn't seem to be in pain, and I think he wasn't particularly concerned, but obviously very shocked in the circumstance. It was a horrendous accident, and it's just amazing that people weren't seriously injured.
Now, doctors have since given Prince Philip the all clear, and he is now back at Sandringham with the Queen. It's worth mentioning that several crashes, some fatal, have been recorded over recent years where this happened. And earlier, the local authorities there made good on previous proposals to lower the speed limit and introduce speed cameras on this particular stretch of road. The incident has prompted comment today on whether people of Prince Philip's age should be driving. Despite being 97 years old, the Prince is said to be in good health and is often described as being fiercely independent. But when you look at these pictures of the aftermath of this crash, it certainly looks like Prince Philip has had a very lucky escape, and it's possible the incident may be enough for him to consider giving up driving altogether. Dominic Velitis, CBC News, London.
There are some angry Harry Potter fans out there wishing they had a refund spell after their Wizard Ball was cancelled twice.
And I'm not seeing any sort of update on what's happening, and it just didn't feel right to me.
They just dropped off the radar. They ghosted like 100%.
I'm Ali Chiasson, and I'll have that story coming up.
Some Harry Potter fans are out hundreds of dollars after a wizard-themed ball set for tomorrow was canceled for the second time. As Ali Shirsan tells us, this has fans clutching their wands.
So in the Harry Potter films, the Yule Ball and Yuletime Magic Market is a Christmas-time celebration at Hogwarts. Here in Toronto, it was supposed to be held at the Enercare Centre, sub-actual wizards for superfans and cosplay. But it was canceled twice.
I had a whole Hermione cosplay I was going to wear, and I wanted to show that to everyone.
Chicago vlogger Lindsay Taylor is back in Toronto after making the trip when the ball was first scheduled in December. But that's when Warner Brothers got involved and were like, abracadabra, nope, due to copyright infringement.
Kind of entertainment realm of things, you have to know about licensing.
When disappointed fans started asking why and demanding refunds, the company, Muggles and Magic, said they'll rebrand and reschedule. Ticket holders like Taylor rebooked their trips, and local fan Krista Marie Bergeron kept hoping. You told me you were looking forward to Hufflepuff it up. I love that term. What does that mean?
Well, I bought a bright yellow ball gown. Hufflepuff colors are black and yellow. We just decided, okay, we won't request a refund because we go to the January 19th, see what happens.
They ghosted 100%.
I emailed them and requested a refund, and I never received a response. Since then, I've followed up numerous times on emails. I've sent Facebook messages.
We emailed Muggles and Magic, called, and door knocked. So their address was listed as 1 Yonge Street, but it's a virtual office, so no one was there. On their website, they tell ticket holders, we understand you are running out of patience, and we take full responsibility for the delays, and that they'll issue a full ticket refund for the Wizard Market and Wizard Ball, and 50% of non-refundable hotel stays and travel costs.
What does Dumbledore say? Light can be found in the darkest times if only you remember to turn it on.
While they wait for a response, there's still plenty for Muggles to do here in Toronto.
There is a Harry Potter inspired bar.
Lockhart?
Yes, you already know. You already know, exactly.
As for the refund, there's a spell for that. Accio.
Accio refund, totally.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
It's National Winnie the Pooh Day, and little did you know the lovable character has a connection to this city. Coming up, we'll tell you about the Toronto author with the decades-old connection to the original bear.
The latest marketplace investigation puts 5 of the top-selling DNA ancestry kits to the test, and they're not as accurate as you might think. Charles C. Agro took the test with her twin sister, which is a very cool idea. I can't wait to see how it came out. But first of all, why did you decide to do it in the first place?
Well, Dwight, the simple answer is really accuracy. We wanted to see how accurate are these tests. And with an identical twin, we had a great scenario to do just that. I took 5 tests, my sister Carly took the same 5 tests, and we wanted to see would I get consistent results from the 5 different companies, but also would Carly and I get matching results. Identical twin, identical DNA, and Dwight, we got more than a few surprises.
The big surprise was we're not German at all.
Know how your DNA connects you to the world.
DNA testing kits make some pretty specific promises. Learn who you really are and where you came from.
You can pinpoint specifically?
Step 1.
All from a sample of your spit or a simple swab.
I feel like I'm on Law and Order. Yeah, CSI.
To test the accuracy of some of the most popular Ancestry DNA kits on the market, my sister Carly and I took 5 tests. Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, MyHeritage DNA, Family Tree DNA, and Living DNA.
Okay.
Identical twins have nearly identical DNA, so the results should be the same.
What? 39% Eastern Europe and Russia.
No way.
What is yours?
Did you get the exact same?
We didn't get the same ancestry results from any of the companies, but some of the differences were bigger than others.
French and German. What?
Oh, I don't have that.
You don't have that at all?
No.
So the fact that they present different results for you and your sister, I find very mystifying.
Results that left a group of Yale computational biologists shaking their heads.
There's just nothing to say. You're twins. We think the numbers should be spot on the same.
Okay. Why would Carr be more Eastern European than I would if our DNA is
the same.
No, she's not. I mean, there's nothing to say. You and your twin sister have the same genetic ancestry, end of day. I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, that's the truth.
How is the Yale team so sure? Well, they analyzed the raw data each company extracted from the samples. The 23andMe data came out statistically identical.
Agreement between you and your sister is 99.6%, 99.7% agreement.
Some of the biggest differences in our results came from 23andMe. When we asked the company how we could get such different results, given our DNA is so similar, the company said even those minor variations can lead their algorithm to assign different ancestry estimates.
It's never a 100% sure thing.
It's why critics, including population geneticist Simone Gravel, suggest taking your results with a grain of salt and not to heart.
These specific percentages are, should not be interpreted as like definitive, like here's your percentage ancestry from this place. Like that's not that.
No.
Yeah. The only ones where we can kind of interpret them like this are the continental level.
Humans share more than 99% of the same DNA, so we're actually a lot more alike than we are different.
Really interesting stuff. So what should people keep in mind then when they're taking these tests?
Sure. So the first thing, Dwight, is what the companies themselves acknowledge, which is that these results are statistical estimates. The other thing people should keep in mind, Dwight, is that your results can actually change. And that also happened to Carly and I. Companies are constantly updating their reference database. They're adding more people to their pool. They're improving their algorithm. The science is getting better. So I think that should also speak to the precision, or perhaps lack thereof, in the results that people are getting.
You can watch Charles E's full marketplace investigation tonight. It airs at 8 p.m. right here on CBC television. You can also stream it at cbc.ca/watch.
We are students! We are students! We will not give up the fight!
Students converged on Queen's Park this afternoon, upset with the changes coming to tuition. I'm Lorenda Redekop. The government says it's about putting students first. The people gathered here say it's not the case for them. I'll have more on their concerns coming up.
On June the 7th, vote Doug Ford and the Progressive Conservatives. I believe he will be the people's premier.
It was a big get, an endorsement from Hazel McCallion. Now Premier Doug Ford has appointed McCallion to be his special advisor and also to advise the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The 97-year-old former mayor of Mississauga will be given a $150,000 a year salary. That's more than the current mayor of Mississauga makes. Hundreds of students turned out at Queen's Park this afternoon, protesting the changes the Ford government is making to tuition fees and student assistance. As Lorenda Redekop explains, there's growing concern the move will hit low-income students the hardest.
Students are under attack! What do we do? Stand up, fight back!
They protested in front of Queen's Park, even though politicians aren't there. The legislature is on break. One of the government's tuition changes, as soon as students graduate, they'll start paying interest on their student loans. The 6-month grace period gone.
It's really taxing the people who couldn't afford education in the first place and making them pay more than maybe the student who could afford it up front.
It's worrying for this fourth-year York University student.
Having a panic attack, that anxiety that comes with just thinking about that grace period is so necessary.
She's also considered low income and benefits from a grants program that resulted in free tuition.
Every student is going to fight their hardest, is going to get double the jobs, is going to make sure they put on 10 times more workload on them so that they can provide for themselves.
The Auditor General found that the expanded grants program introduced by the previous Liberal government was increasingly expensive. She warned that in a few years' time, it could cost $2 billion a year. The former premier wrote on Twitter that under her government, more Indigenous, low-income, and mature students went to college and university. We were increasing access. Doug Ford's government is restricting access.
Our government is ensuring all qualified Ontario students will have more access to high-quality skills, training, and education.
Overall, tuition fees will drop by 10%. Some student fees will also be optional, possibly meaning less money for student clubs and organizations.
These fees often get allocated to services students do not use, or to support organizations they do not support.
That puts a lot of our services in jeopardy, and a lot of students are very shocked by this, and we're trying to figure out answers.
The Canadian Federation of Students says this is just the first of their actions, and it says it will continue to pressure the government. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A Toronto man who runs a company dealing with stag and does and bachelor parties has been arrested on voyeurism charges. Police say 33-year-old Nicola Nardella shot videos at his business, Entourage Entertainment in Vaughan, showing women in sexual encounters. Their investigation began in September, and that's when Nardella was arrested. Investigators are now seeking more victims who may not be aware they were being filmed at the company's location at Steeles and Pine Valley. A Canadian man has been arrested suspected of helping the gunman involved in a deadly attack in Kenya earlier this week. 21 people were killed when a group of armed men stormed a hotel in Nairobi on Tuesday. Today, 5 people suspected of assisting the shooters appeared in court, one of them a Canadian. Police are still searching for more suspects. They say the investigation includes several countries and is complex. Al-Shabaab, the Somali-based terrorist group, has claimed responsibility for the attack. Meantime, Canadian authorities confirm that they are in contact with the family of the man who has been arrested. Democrats in the U.S. are vowing to investigate the latest accusations against President Donald Trump. A BuzzFeed report says he directed former personal attorney Michael Cohen to lie when giving evidence to Congress about a real estate project in Moscow. The White House is denouncing the report.
Look, that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that the president's outside counsel addressed this best and said in a statement earlier today that's categorically false.
The BuzzFeed story cites 2 sources close to the investigation. It alleges Trump instructed Cohen to lie about negotiations over a Trump Tower in Moscow during the 2016 election campaign. Cohen has pleaded guilty to lying about when those negotiations took place. He is set to go to jail for 3 years in March. Big popcorn and upside-down pictures. Today kicks off CBC's Super Fun Superfan Weekend event. I checked out some of the activities. And yeah, I did it for the gram. We'll take you there coming up a little later. We know the inspiration for Winnie the Pooh was a Canadian cub from right here in Ontario. And although many of us have grown up reading about the fun-loving bear, one Toronto woman has a very personal collection. Her great-grandfather raised the real Winnie, and recently she released a book of her own looking at his journey. Taylor Simmons spoke to her on this National Winnie the Pooh Day.
My great-grandfather was a British-Canadian soldier. His name was Harry Colborne, and he came over to Canada. He became a veterinarian, and when the First World War broke out in 1914, he enlisted to look after the cavalry units, the horses. And he traveled from Winnipeg to a little town in Ontario called White River, and while he was there, he bought a bear cub, which he named Winnie, which is short for Winnipeg. And when he realized he had to go to the front lines 4 months later, he brought her to the London Zoo in England. And while she was there, she met lots of visitors, but in particular, she met the author A. Milne and his son, Christopher Robin. And A. Milne took some inspiration from their relationship and started writing, of course, the Winnie the Pooh stories. Until very gently,
she placed her chin on a bear's side.
Lindsay Matic is able to tell this story as part of her second children's book because her great-grandfather, Harry Colborne, kept a detailed diary.
The diaries have been a huge part of putting Winnie's Great War together because we were able to actually look through them, understand all of the entries, and actually use those entries throughout the book. April 23rd, 1915, lost everything.
The story uses real characters from Colborne's journals and is told from Winnie's perspective.
It's a little bit like bending time because it's bridging over 100 years. I think it's a pretty relatable way for kids to understand what was going on during the First World War.
Writing the book was a chance for Matic to revisit her ancestors' remarkable tale and share it with her own son, Cole, named after Colborne. As for whether this book is the end of the story,
we don't know what's next yet, but stay tuned.
Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Toronto.
We are tracking a major storm heading towards southwestern Ontario over the next day. Anywhere between 15 to 30 centimeters of snow is expected. And that's not the end of it. Colette's back after the break to time it all out for us. Stay with us. We will be right back. We've been getting off easy, Colette. Only a matter of time. It's here.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. The most significant amounts are going to be kind of to the west of us, over towards Hamilton, around to the Niagara Peninsula. We'll get into all of that. We still have the special weather statement that we're dealing with for the City of Toronto, for the GTA, all these areas that you see in gray, because we will see strong winds, extreme wind chills, very cold conditions this weekend, and that snow coming down and blowing around. The accumulations, though, will be a little bit less for us from the city and certainly further north from there. So for the areas in the winter storm warning, you see here, Hamilton to Niagara, that's where we're talking about 15 to 25 centimeters of snow. Maybe even, as Dwight mentioned, some cases could be closer to 30. There'll be some lake enhancement there, especially with those winds at times gusting towards 60 kilometers an hour. Our current temperatures, this is nothing compared to where it's going. -3 is what we have for the city and for Mississauga as well. And the wind chill makes it feel like we're at -10, so at least minus double digits. We'll have some overnights, especially Sunday night, where it may feel like -30 in terms of that wind chill. Satellite radar imagery, some of this just picking up what's not even reaching the ground or there yet. What I really want to focus on is what's happening back here, just the beginnings of the storm making its way through Michigan towards southwestern Ontario. As we take this through to tomorrow morning, you can see here over as you get closer towards Hamilton, but certainly coming around towards Niagara and St. Catharines, we've got some of that light snow coming in. Flurries beginning for us over towards the city and even beyond. As we come towards the lunch hour, this becomes more significant, pushing on towards Pickering and Oshawa through these areas, trying to stretch northward, but I think it's going to have a hard time. It's mostly looking like it's tracking further south, and that's why the accumulations there will be much less. As we get towards Saturday evening, through the overnight, it really tapers off and begins to move out. Still some flurries certainly possible into Sunday left over, but really it will be a quieter day, although still some blowing snow because the winds will still be strong. So look at some of the snowfall potential. This model giving us there around that 10 centimeter, 5 to 10 centimeter mark for the city, but coming to the 15 to 20. And as we say, it could be more than 20 as you come around towards the Niagara Peninsula there. -12, that's the high on Saturday. It's going to be -17 Saturday night into Sunday, -16. But look at these wind chills in terms of what it's actually going to feel like. It will not last forever, but as we go towards Tuesday, Wednesday, that's when the temperatures come back towards seasonal, even above. We've got a few days to go yet, Dwight.
I'm getting the back ready, Colette. Ready to go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All weekend, CBC Toronto is opening its doors for CBC Super Fun Super Fan event. Nice way to get away from the cold. There will be exclusive Q&As with CBC stars, fun Instagram photo ops, prize giveaways, and CBC Kids Studio K tours. I went on a sneak peek earlier today and have a sneak peek for you now. So I go to the corner store all the time, and me and Mr. Kim are like this, but I can't get a cameo on Kim's Convenience. So since I can't get on their show, they're on my show today. Look who we have here. We got Andrew and Simu from Kim's Convenience. What up, gentlemen? What are you guys doing here? What's happening?
Having a good time.
Yeah. CBC Super Fun, Super Fan Weekends, and you guys have a lot of fans out there. And are they actually going to be able to come down here and see you guys?
Yeah, they're going to come down tonight, see us, shows other, cast members from Working Moms, Cavendish, Because News. And what's great is if you check out the space right now.
Yeah, this is it.
So much fun.
I was just doing some flips here and doing some snowboarding. Let's show you what else is available here, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now here, we're shining a light on the news. CBC Investigates. I like this, guys. So, but this is all like for the Instagram, right? This is for the gram. Right, can I get you guys in here? I gotta get something for my gram, man.
It's all about the gram right now.
Yeah.
It's all about that.
I don't even know how to work in here. Where is it? Is there back? You gotta help me. You gotta help me.
What are you doing?
There we go. There we go.
We gotta do this.
Look at me. Hanging out with the boys from Kids Convenience. Let's continue here. Let's go on. Yeah, that's a good one, Andrew. Okay, so this is a big thing here. What is happening here? What is going on? Hello, you don't have to leave just because of us. You can hang out. Get in here. We can all do this together.
We gotta do it.
All right, let's go.
Get in.
So all weekend.
CBC Gem, which is their new streaming app.
All right.
Right?
Oh, we gotta get everybody in here. Let's get it.
All right.
Okay, hold on. We got it? Could you press the button for me, though? I can't reach. Very
Oh,
cool.
it's so good.
So you guys, fans can come down all weekend long, get to see you guys, get to see all the great CBC shows, and just have fun.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
So
Thanks, guys.
family-friendly fun, man. We're so excited to have people down all weekend. Come say hi, take pics with us, take pics with you. I don't know you, but now you're part of our family.
Let's go.
Yes! Right
All right.
place, right time.
Now turn it off so I can talk to them about my cameo on Tim's Convenience. How do we work that out, guys? Like, I can play the guy.
We'll have your people call our people.
Okay.
And then, you know.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
So much, man. Thank you, man.
This is so cool.
I think you should do like a boomerang, like when you like eat the popcorn or you like pop out.
Want to come down and join the fun? Tickets are free, but make sure you reserve your spot at cbcsuperfan.ca. And we are recognizing the people and projects that are making the GTA a better place to live, work, and play. You've nominated your community champions, and now we need everyone's help to vote on the best. Just head to cbc.ca/community champions. There you can read about the top 10 finalists who are making the GTA better. Vote for your favorite. You have until Tuesday, January 22nd.
May I meet the beast? I hope for your sake that he likes you.
First came Unbreakable, then more than a decade later came Split. Now M. Night Shyamalan's trilogy is coming to an end with Glass. Eli Glasner gives us his review next.
Feeling, vision. May I meet the beast? I hope for your sake that he likes you. That sounds like the bad guys teaming up.
Bringing together the bad guys and one good one into a psychological thriller to cap a trilogy. It's all from the mind of M. Night Shyamalan. Glass is now in theaters, and Eli Glasner joins us to tell us if it's really worth your time. So what's he serving up with glass, Eli.
So, you might remember Unbreakable, 19 years ago. Bruce Willis as this super strong guy, survivor of a train crash, one of Shyamalan's biggest hits. And then a few years ago, he had the movie Split. And at the end of Split, there was a cameo of Bruce Willis from Unbreakable. So now he has created a Shyamalanian cinematic universe. He's combining the two movies. So here's where we start. David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, is still doing good, trying to save the day. There is Elijah, played by Samuel L. Jackson. He's actually locked away in an institution, and there is the Beast, James McAvoy from Split. He is a guy named Kevin who has multiple personalities fighting for dominance inside him. Beast, not a good guy, actually kidnaps some cheerleaders, about to do really bad things to him. And then, that's okay, because Bruce Willis is on the job. David Dunn actually has a little confrontation with the Beast, but they both get picked up and sent to this hospital, an institution where now you've got all three super individuals under the care of Dr. Staple, played by Sarah Paulson. And she has a really interesting expertise. Let's take a look.
My work concerns a particular type of delusion of grandeur. It's a growing field. I specialize in those individuals who believe they are superheroes.
Good for you. So that is one of the many personalities inside the Beast there, and that's the idea behind the film. That you've got this scientist saying, you don't have powers. It's in your head. You're not super strong. You're not super evolved. It's just a delusion. Whereas you have Samuel L. Jackson's character saying, no, he has a very different idea.
Three big name leads there.
Yeah.
How do you rate them?
Let's start with the least impressive, Bruce Willis.
Bruce, pick it up,
well,
Bruce.
Look, he's sleepwalking through the entire film. Like, unless being somnolent is a power, that is what he... I know the character's kind of, groggy and depressed, but especially people who loved Unbreakable, you're going to be underwhelmed here. So let's move on to James McAvoy. He's playing this character with 24 different personalities inside him, and to see him change from a 9-year-old who loves Drake to Patricia, this kind of sinister woman, in like a moment, just with his body and accents, remarkable. And then, finally, Samuel L. Jackson's Elijah wakes up. He's been comatose for half the film. And as I said, he gives us a different theory on this age of heroes. Let's take a look.
This is not a cartoon. This is the real world. No way. And yet, some of us still don't die with bullets. Some of us can still bend steel.
Now, the idea that superheroes are real and comic books are some kind of like signifier for some larger, more mythic universe is ridiculous, but if anyone could sell me, it's Sam Jackson. He takes the most mediocre movie and elevates it to something special.
I feel like you're holding back. If there's something else you want to say, is it worth the wait and watch it?
Okay, you want me to shatter your glass expectations? I mean, the ludicrous plot, the plot holes, the leaps in logic. After 19 years of waiting, what really irks me, and it's not just like the silly stuff, like the fact that you have all these super criminals locked away in a hospital with one guard at night, one guard. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen with Super Genius over there. The thing is, we are in this age of heroes, but does it have anything to say about it? No. Does it talk about delusions? No, not really. In the end, what this is really about is Shyamalan setting up the story and then knocking it all down with the twist. He always has to have a twist. The twist comes, it's underwhelming, the payoff isn't worth it. And so in the end, it's kind of like he's a character in his own movie. He's now trapped because everyone wants the Shyamalan twist, and so it kind of ruins the experience. 2.5 stars. 2.5, I'm sorry.
Ooh, thank you, Eli.
You're welcome.
It's Friday. You could be nice on a Friday.
It'd be nice if it was a nice movie.
It's not clear what Ontario Place will look like in the future. The province is now asking for proposals to figure that out. As the debate is starting up again, we thought it would be fun to look back at how it changed from the 70s until now.
Ontario Place started as a wonderful idea and then slowly got muddled up. What it really should be is a place for Ontarians to be.
This is Ontario Place. Now just a few months away from its May 22nd official opening, the huge provincial government complex has already changed the profile of Toronto's waterfront.
In all, just about a tenth of the predicted 70,000 people made it to Ontario Place for opening day.
The people will come. It's a tremendous place. To me, it's a real indication of what can be achieved in Ontario. It will give people a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride that everyone needs.
When it's finished, the Molson Amphitheatre will hold 16,000 music fans.
The number of people using those parts of the park have been declining. It's fallen into disrepair, and we just don't want to continue.
The challenge for us is going to be to find something that is excellent, that contributes to the economic and cultural and social well-being of Toronto and Ontario.
The Wynne government rejected building condos or a casino at Ontario Place.
The design appears far more lush and green than the current site, which is more parking lot than park.
3, 2, 1. Woohoo!
It's taken 3 years of construction work, the $30 million project totally transforming what used to be a staff parking lot into this, a 7.5-acre green space with a waterfront trail and quite the view. Officials in Doug Ford's government are not saying exactly what they intend to do here at Ontario Place.
Everything's on the table. This is an opportunity to create a world-class facility, something of great excitement.
Doug Ford has had other big and often controversial ideas for Toronto's waterfront dating back to his council days. He suggested the world's biggest Ferris wheel, a mega mall, and a monorail.
It's the last remaining large tract of land of this type in all of downtown Toronto. And so it's critical that it's not sold off or handed over.
This is owned by the people of Ontario, and the people of Ontario should decide what's going to go here.
Lots of fond memories for a lot of people at Ontario Place. All right, big weekend, ready to shovel.
It is.
Yep.
Are you? All right, good. Well, we really have to worry about the shoveling from about Hamilton around to Niagara. So through that area, that's where those amounts, 15 to 25 centimeters, and lake enhancement there, and that's where the winter storm warning is in place. Now, for the city, we're going to maybe do a little bit better, and that's why I've been talking about 5 to 15 centimeters, but that's really close to the lakeshore. You know, as you get just a little bit north, it's going to be these lesser amounts. I'm not saying you won't have to shovel. Stretch your back. Get ready for it.
Do some yoga, yeah.
But it'll be lesser amounts. It's just the wind's going to be strong. It's going to be so cold. And so blowing the snow that is coming down around, it's going to even at times seem like more than it is because of the reduced visibility that we'll be getting into. And some of the wind chills, by the way, overnight, like I was saying,
that's scary too.
Minus 25, minus 30. It is scary stuff because you can't have exposed skin out there or you will get frostbite.
So heed the warnings. She's telling us exactly what we have to worry about, so be ready for it. And, you know, it's not an exact science, so 15 to 30 is a wide estimate. You said 5 to 10 for us, but that could change.
It could. It looks like the latest runs of the models, which we look at for our weather models, are wanting to keep it a bit further south, and that bodes for less shoveling for us.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. Talia Ritchie has your next local news at 11. We'll see you back here on Monday.